You gotta scoot in more than that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to scoot in way more than that. Ladies and gentlemen, Invisible Chris.
Hey!
I'm
You're
trying.
just gonna have to lead. Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
Get real close to Nick.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another 10 Forward Weekly. I am half of Mike Fatum, also known as Ambassador
I'm
Kel.
all of
You're
Nick.
doing the best you can.
I'm all of Nick the Good.
And also known as Ambassador Kel, I am the community manager for Star Trek Online. And today we are celebrating 10 years of Star Trek Online. Woo! And I thought it'd be fun to bring in some people who've been on the game the longest, including our first two guests. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Nick. Hi.
Yeah. Oh, hello. I'm Chris.
And what do you do on the game, people?
Oh. I'm an effects artist. Chris is an environment artist.
Yeah, that's.
That's,
oh, wait.
No, hang on. Everything's topsy-turvy. They can read. It says it on the
No,
side.
but it's like when the substitute teacher comes, you have to tell everybody that you're wrong,
Yeah.
the wrong names. And
This is true.
And Chad is pointing out rightly that your shirt is just green enough that we can see through
Oh,
you
it's true.
sometimes.
my
Yep,
shi- my,
yep.
my,
No,
my kitchen arsenal.
Your hand will still be covered by his shirt.
I just wanted to see how good it was.
It was
That's not how anything works. You worked on movies. You know this.
I'm phasing.
Yeah.
Pardon
My
me,
hair
it's
was green for months, and
my-
everyone was like, "Your hair is teleporting." In chat every
my
single
Time of the year, I
You-
molt every year into
just-
phase out.
Just
No,
phase out
it's-
of this dimension, and then a new, fresh Nick is born.
There's a roll of green tape over there. We could start putting that on.
Yes.
Yeah, you could. We could. All right. Well, welcome to the stream. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Star Trek Online memories today. And this is a much more cramped environment than it normally is. But
You picked two of the largest guys
I know.
to come on the stream at the same time.
Yeah.
with the largest host. So let's start at the beginning. When did you guys first start working on STO? Oh, man.
Sorry, thinking. I started in January 2012.
Okay.
So 2 years in. I had been on Champions before that. I was the only environment artist on Champions, and we hired somebody else, and then they became the only environment artist on Champions. Yeah, I started, and it wasn't the first thing, but doing New Romulus was one of the earliest. Like that, the whole Legacy of Romulus update was one of the first things, the first big things that we worked on.
Yeah.
I think I was here a year before launch.
Okay, so you've been here the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever worked on any other games here? Or have you been,
I've subbed in on some other.
but you've been
projects.
officially Star Trek the entire time.
Well, I started on Champions.
Oh,
and
okay.
then launched that, and then rolled into STO.
I'm mostly asking so I can tell Al to suck it because he said there was nobody on the team who had been on STO the entire time from the beginning. And I knew you had.
Well, there's a couple of people that were on it when it was still like in prototype phase.
I
So
see.
if he was on then yeah, he gets to claim that.
I guess since launch.
Well, and
because Al doesn't count either because he was off for an indescribable period of time anyway.
I was going to say, if he's
other
actually talking
projects.
about being on it contiguously, that's different than just being on it from the start.
Yeah,
because
no, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's been on it contiguously since launch.
Ian
Oh, okay.
Castaneda, maybe?
Maybe.
He'll be on later, so we can ask him. Yeah. So, okay, what's your first memory of Star Trek then? Star Trek Online, not Star Trek in general.
Oh, jeez. It's been 10 years, Mike.
Think. What jumps out at you as something you remember that was memorable?
It all just feels like yesterday. So,
Chris spent 10 years in a dark closet
right,
making explosions
making
go.
explosions. It all just blends together.
I will start then.
Yeah, if you got something that stands
Well,
out.
I mean, my earliest memory of Star Trek Online was us literally gathered in the kitchen hearing from Jack that we had gotten the license.
Oh.
And we were not expecting that. And it was kind of, I mean,
We're not expecting it because you didn't know they were going for it, or you weren't expecting Krypton to get it?
I don't. That part is hazy. I don't know at this point. For those who don't know all of the history of this, Star Trek Online was a property that was being developed by another company called Perpetual Entertainment out of San Francisco, and they had the license for a couple of years already, and they hadn't produced a whole lot, and so CBS, I can't remember how it all came down, but CBS was revoking the license or looking for somebody else, and we happened to need something else and were interested. and Perpetual kind of at the same time just shut down, and so we got the license from them, but we had to agree to put it out on the same deadline that they had already been working on it for a couple of years for. And so that was crazy town. But we got the license, and we managed to get out, or once we had actually started producing things and they saw that we weren't quite as unproductive as Perpetual had been, trying to be diplomatic in the way I'm saying things.
That was not at all diplomatic, but you tried, and I appreciate it.
CBS saw that we were actually making things, and so they actually did grant us a kind of a extension or two, and I think we came out 6 months after we had originally planned to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the process like of going from, you said it was kind of a crazy process, but going from like 0 to 60 in terms of building a new Star Trek game from the ground up?
I remember my
Go for it.
my first Star Trek Online memory. So I came here. I was hired to work on Champions, and then like it was my first or second day, I learned we have a secret project that we're working on, Star Trek Online. I was like, I need to work on that.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Nerd. Like all of us here.
Yeah.
My first day on the job, unfortunately he no longer works here, but I said something about being a Trekkie, and John Steady yelled, "Nerd!" at me, and it was great. I knew I was home.
That's sort of your initiation. That's how you know you're on the Star Trek team. When you do that
actually
moment, and then somebody just yells "nerd," and then
even D'Angelo had that moment at some point. I don't know if you guys have heard that story.
No, I don't think I have heard that story.
He's told it a few times, but he was...
D'Angelo, for you who don't know, is the CEO of Cryptic Studios and former executive producer on Star Trek
And
Online.
he's certainly a nerd, and he acknowledges that, but he didn't think he was that big of a Trekkie, but he had been... In one of the early conversations with CBS or with somebody, they were talking about making ships and, we'll make, hundreds of ships. And D'Angelo had this moment of thinking, well, in the Battle of Wolf 359, they lost 39 ships, and that was like a third of the fleet or something. So they can't possibly have hundreds of ships. Yeah. And that's when it clicked in his brain that, oh, wait, maybe I do know what I'm talking about.
Star Trek really well. Oh, no. Yeah, I think we've all had that moment at some point.
And I got those numbers wrong. I know. I apologize. I don't know exactly how many ships were lost or what percentage of the fleet it was.
It was exactly 2.597%
Perfect.
Of their ships.
Well, no,
if you round the two.
No, Star Trek would be like 47%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, exactly. Right on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't lose 50% of your ships. Got to lose
47.
You know about 47.
Yeah.
Do you not know about 47?
I probably do, but
remind
me.
47 has showed up in every Trek everywhere.
It
It's
is,
a number that is constantly
it's
repeated.
the most common number.
The D7, 47.
Oh, okay.
There's a million places, or 74. Those two numbers will flip-flop and show up in everything.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I will now never be able to unsee that.
Correct.
Just any episode of Voyager, especially the first season, where the plot is Act 1, they get attacked.
Yeah.
But the second attack, they're like, "Our shields are at 47%."
You know what GNDN lines?
What?
GNDN
lines? No, I don't know what.
Okay.
Educate me in the ways of Trek.
So in
TOS,
there are pipes that kind of go all over the place. They're often in the rafters and things, and they were often marked GNDN. Goes nowhere, does nothing.
You know what? I did know that from the Star Trek: The Experience behind-the-scenes tour, because they had replicated everything from the Enterprise D bridge and hallways set exactly to the point of all the stickers the crew put in were as in jokes. Mm-hmm. So like, there's a sticker somewhere in that hallway, or was, because I guess it's destroyed now. It just said, "The Force will be with you always."
A lot of the doors, they have a big number on the door.
Yeah.
This is TNG.
Yeah.
And then they have kind of some little text under it, and you couldn't read it on the VHS screen, so they just put in all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, that's where Cetacean Ops comes from, right?
Cetacean Ops is there.
Yep.
They would have quotes from the Wizard of Oz and all sorts of weird stuff.
The I don't know if you know this, but for Clear Skies, the game that we're the RPG game that we're designing the USS Ross for, or have designed it for, they. Because Thomas designed the ship and everything that's in it, of course he put a giant Cetacean Ops somewhere in there,
of course.
Which Eric Campbell, the game master, didn't know was a thing in Star Trek until that point, and went, "Oh my God, there's dolphins on my ship!"
Yes.
I still want to make Cetacean Ops someplace.
What was the first thing you guys worked on for STO?
Oh, for STO?
We didn't talk about your first memory of Stowe.
Yeah,
What was your
you-
first
Oh,
memory of
God.
Stowe?
Yeah, you first.
Probably getting the job. I don't know.
No,
I
you certainly knew about it before then, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I remember seeing an announcement way back in the day. I first started playing the game, I think, right after it had gone free to play, and it still had that like, if you're a free to play player, you can't chat restriction going on. So I remember logging in, playing a couple of missions, and saying, I don't know what's going on, and I can't ask in chat how for help, so I'm going to log off again. Thankfully, that's all changed now, and everything's much nicer.
I never understand those
Yeah,
restrictions in games.
I understand like restricting people from getting access to like really cool stuff that you want them to pay
Right,
for,
it's
but like,
oh, you can't run until you're level
think-
50.
yeah,
The chat thing is we hadn't really done free to play yet. We had done free to play on Champions. Champions was the test bed for free to play, and it had gone well. But I'm sure that setting just kind of held over from there. And I think that it was just we didn't know if we were going to be flooded with spam bots or whatever, and we didn't want people that were had just come out of the tutorial
that makes sense.
flooding everything with God knows what.
Yeah, I think the actual restriction very quickly became like a very short restriction. I think at the very beginning it was like you just can't chat until you're a subscriber. But let's see. Were either of you around for the beta end where we sicked the Borg on players? Because I've heard legends of that.
I witnessed it, but I wasn't participating.
I was a Borg pilot.
Of course you were.
I could fly. I'm a Borg pilot.
So were you guys? You weren't just spawning Borg. You were actually playing as the Borg.
We were driving. We had specific spheres that we were driving around.
Oh, that's hilarious.
They were always like sphere 1 of 10 or something. Right? I think there was only 10 of us at the time. I could be wrong. It's been a while. It's been 10 years.
That tradition goes back to City of, where we when City of launched, they did a Rickety Monkey invasion, and the devs actually took over Rickety Monkeys.
There was the end of City of Villains too, where we
did the same thing.
Beat up Statesman.
And I heard I've heard this story many times before, but I want them to hear the story of you in the costume contest with Champions Online launch.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorites.
My big story from Champions.
Yeah.
So we decided to do. You should have been there for this.
I don't remember now.
We decided to do like an end of beta event, and one of the designers made us all these like really OP powers, and we all got changed our costumes to be destroyer bots, like the big bosses, right?
Yep, I remember that now.
And and we just kind of logged in and ran the script that gave us all the stuff, and I went flying around looking for specific words in the chat. Costume contest. Because I know what happens. So I going through different instances, I find, hey, costume contest, 5 minutes, City Hall. Perfect. I fly over there, get in line with everybody else. And there's a guy going down, looking at everybody's costumes, looks at me, goes to the next guy, comes back, right? And he's like, the first people are like, where did you get those costume pieces? And I was like, oh, I just found them. And then
found them with my fingers on my keyboard.
And then somebody goes, how come I can target you and you're red? And I was like, oh, because of this. Boom! And so we had a hand clap power that there were as many zeros on the magnitude as the editor could fit, and it would knock people clear across the zone.
Yeah.
And that was so amazing. And then about a minute after that, people realized like the rest of the devs were on the shard and beating everybody up.
Yeah.
So
man, I wish we could.
It was an epic battle.
I totally understand why we can't do more stuff like that on the live shard, because that privilege has been abused in the past.
Yes.
But we, I feel like the day we did the accidental Curland PvP for April Fools really proved that we can do it and players will handle it well. We just got to figure out a way to do it right. Nick, what was the first thing you worked on? Do you remember?
Like I said, the earliest things that I remember are Legacy of Romulus stuff, but I know that there was things before that. I just don't recall exactly what they were.
Was when you started on STO, was that back in your environment artist training Rocks and Crates days, or were you designing full maps at that point?
I mean, New Romulus was pretty quick after I'd started.
Yeah.
I had definitely put in my wolves and bears, stuff long before that.
Wolves and bears.
It was adapting more to a team again because I came on from Champions where it was really the only person there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically what was the first.
Have you been? I don't remember. Have you been on STO this whole time, or have you
Mhm.
moved on? Okay, so you guys are both.
I mean,
since you started on
yeah.
STO, you've been
Yeah,
staying on
and
STO.
again,
We've helped out other
everybody
Right.
everybody gets lent places
Yeah.
all the time, but yeah, my home has been stowed since 2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fleet Admiral Salaknar wants to know when you'll finish New Romulus, which I think means that city over on the
I
horizon
would
that they're
love
always
to.
asking about.
Yep. It would be great.
We all want it
Yeah.
someday.
Yeah.
Nick worked on DS9 for what, 5 years before we finally got to put it out.
Yeah.
So
Not quite, but
it was
yeah,
just
that
like
was a while.
work. Oh, crisis.
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Oh, crisis.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we started and restarted that a few times.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
What's your favorite explosion?
I remember the first thing I worked on in Star Trek was ironically the first thing I worked on in Champions,
Yeah.
which was in Star Trek it's the Gorn rock throw,
Mm.
and then in Champions it was the super strength rock throw.
Right.
So it was really daunting when I first did it in Champions because it was all broken. Like you wouldn't throw a rock, wouldn't do anything. And so not only was it the first effect I worked on in the real world, I actually had to like reverse engineer how it's supposed to work and like figure out our system at the same time. And then years later, I get the same assignment. It's like, yeah, the Gorn rock, they're not throwing rocks. And like, I get in there like,
I know what happened.
I know how this works.
I am intimately familiar
Yes.
with this rock throwing.
Yes. I built this.
Q Cullen wants to know, was it Nick, but actually for both of you guys, was it difficult to go from champion style to a Trek art style?
No.
Not really.
No. Champions isn't that far off stylistically
Yeah.
at the time. I mean, what we're doing now is drastically different than what we were doing in 2010, but at the time they were pretty much the same. The only difference being that, Champions was a little simplified, and then it had all sorts of post-processing to make it look more
Comic
cartoony, comic booky. But the actual assets are fairly similar. We actually have a bunch of Champions assets in Star Trek Online because when they made the Star Trek Online first branch, they literally just copied Champions over and then started deleting stuff, but a lot of the assets are still there.
Yeah, I accidentally put a tugboat in a picture once. I was trying to get a picture of a cruise ship. Didn't know the Rysian cruise ship existed, so I just searched for boat and stuck a tugboat in.
Yep, we've got stop signs and, I don't remember what else, street lamps and things.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing you've worked on in Star Trek, then? Let's ask the really complicated question. Put you on the spot.
Jeez, which of these children is your favorite?
Well, the
We
thing
will
I'm working
kill
on
the
right
others.
now that I can't talk about at all.
I've seen it, though. It's real nice. At least I think it is what I think it is.
It is probably.
Oh, it's what? Because when I came over to your desk this morning, you were working on it. Yeah, so.
I don't know if that's actually my favorite, but it's certainly been a lot of fun working on it. ESD is that was a big one. I really liked working on ESD a lot.
I don't know if we've actually talked about that on the stream before. How did you sort of approach? Because the old ESD was kind of.
It was a circle.
It was a circle, yeah.
Mhm.
How did you approach redesigning it, knowing that, how do you approach designing, I guess, what's going to be a player hub, like Deep Space Nine or ESD?
We had a lot of iterations on it, and there's actually, I should probably go dig up some of those white boxes, because we have at least 2 other versions that we had not completely white boxed, but had white boxed out the spaces before we ended up on this. And I think that, this was largely dictated by where we wanted to put it on ESD, superstructure, on the side of the dome, where we could see both inside and outside. And that was kind of not a mandate, but that was something that Al, I think, really wanted, was to be able to see both inside the docking bay and outside. Yeah. And that really only has, one area of the entire station where that works. In terms of layout, I kind of went overboard with making everything circles and arcs and things, but that's kind of where I started, was just laying out circles. Like, well, exchange will go here, and this thing will go there, and that will go there, and then we wanted to be able to stand in the center of the whole space and be able to look around and see everything, because that was the problem that the circle old ESD had was
Yeah.
that when you were running around, you didn't know which side you were on or where the next thing was. You could start running this way, but the thing is right behind you. So we wanted to be able to see everything from the center, which is problematic from performance standpoint. So we had to kind of simplify some things that way. But that could be a whole conversation at some point if we want to dissect that.
That could be fun. I might bring up the editors on here and have you actually dive into.
Oh, that would be really
really
cool.
fun. 'Cause we
I'm
did
sorry.
that with one of Jesse's
I'm all
patrols
tangled.
once. And
Yeah,
was
that'd be
great.
cool. The players would never like that, though.
No, they
Yeah.
would. They have.
It's a joke.
Oh, okay. I see. I understand now. Your sarcastic
I
voice
know.
is so close to your
I-
regular voice. We have this problem all the
I
time,
know
and it's
we
all
do.
my fault.
It's not your fault.
All right, Chris, what was your favorite thing you worked on?
Favorite explosion, go.
Favorite explosion?
Favorite explosion?
Did you do the one from Hell with Honor? Because that's my favorite explosion right now.
the reactor
The
explosion?
reactor explosion?
I did that one.
That was a good. That's a good explosion.
Yeah,
That should be
That
your
turned out
answer,
really good.
Yeah, everyone just kept saying, I don't know what it was supposed to, like, I don't know what I want, but I want Akira.
I think we gave you a little more direction than that, but not a lot.
Not-
Chris
Not
was
a
like,
lot.
"All right, turn up
Not-
bloom to 11."
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot more. It was like a thing and a thing. Akira.
No, I want the bubble. That's what I
Want
was
the
saying. I
bubble.
wanted the bubble to be expanding, and then, yeah.
Well, you got it.
I can answer that question, Captain Wallace. So Legacy is the name of this current this update that we're in right now. Just like Awakening was the name of the last one, and Rise of Discovery was the name of the one before that. The next update, which will be later on in the year, will have a different name.
I believe it's just called L now.
Yeah, that's true. Or
Yeah,
Leg.
that was official.
Leg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody on Reddit posted, start in 2010 we did Legacy of Romulus, in 2020 we do Legacy, so the next one will just be L or Leg.
Yeah.
I liked it. Anyway, the next one will continue the story that we've been working on for the past little while, but won't probably continue anything with Excalibur or old Abe Lincoln, who is a favorite of mine. All right, Chris, favorite explosion. Come on, we're delayed long enough. You should have been thinking this all the time.
No.
The favorite anything you worked on. Yeah, what's your favorite thing you worked on? What sticks out in your memory?
So it's not really an art thing. Well, it kind of is. I really enjoy when I get to upgrade stuff.
Yeah.
So when we added missing into space, that was a huge endeavor to retrofit all of our...
Oh, you're talking about when you shoot something and miss.
Yeah, miss.
Understood.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because before that, you would be like, blam! Right in the face and
No
miss.
damage. Oh, okay.
And like that, the computer is not matching the visual.
Yeah.
So when we added that, I think that made me like really happy to get that in
That was a
because
good
people,
change.
Yeah, that was
people
really
were like,
cool. Yeah. I can miss now. I mean, I don't want to, but
I don't
can.
want to, but it's like I actually knew I can just by looking at it. I don't have to wait for the computer to tell me I missed.
Yeah.
So
That's really cool.
yeah.
That sounds like it was a freak ton of work.
It was about 600 files of editing. We have 800 now, so if I had to make a similar change, it would be.
So,
Oh yeah, we also hit our effects limit. I don't know if you
Oh.
talked to people about that.
yeah, tell us about that. What does that mean?
A long time ago when programmers made our engine, they just said like, we'll never have any more than these number of effects.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
And